Hello and what's up guys, it is me Fuel. This is of course the first video for the UAF, the United African Fan. I'm of course in South Africa and the game today is of course Real Sociedad versus Man United. Oh my god, why did I forget that? Why did I stumble there? Anyway, the game today is very interesting in my opinion, very interesting because of the starting 11. Now I can't really speak too much because in about 10 minutes the game is going to go live and I really want to watch it, and unfortunately this account is too new for me to actually do a watch along, nor I think actually there would be people watching along. But hey, we have to start somewhere. Anyway, the first starting 11 is of course very different. There is no Sancho, there is no Rashford, there is no Anthony. Anthony, of course, I believe he's suffering an injury, which is kind of unfortunate. Maguire isn't starting, Fred isn't starting, McTominay, of course, all of these players. But the substitutions that are available for Man United is quite interesting as well. Of course, we won't see most of them play because Ten Hag has a specific kind of team that he likes to pull and a specific kind of play style that he likes to do. Now, with this team, I must say I'm very excited, primarily because of course we have Ronaldo in the front. I hope he scores, but let me not go into Ronaldo right now. Big Ronaldo fan, but hey, bigger United fan. Anyway, Garnacho on the left, very interesting. Garnacho did surprisingly well in his first appearance. I believe it was, I forgot the against Sheriff. Yes, he put on a fantastic performance. He wasn't really one of those kind of young players that did nothing. He did put up and he did show some confidence. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. Van de Beek, I think Ten Hag likes Van de Beek, primarily because I believe Van de Beek was at Ajax. I'm not too sure, but Van de Beek is a player that, in my opinion, hasn't been primed and tested, and he hasn't really been trusted in previous managers, especially under Ole. Now, in this system, I don't know if it could work, but this could be an interesting starting, of course, and Fernandes on the right. Now, Anthony, again, being injured. Some people speculate that, of course, his little spinneroonie has resulted in him not starting, but I don't think Ten Hag is petty enough to worry about that, considering his relationship with Anthony. And also Lindelof, and also because Varane is off and Maguire not starting. Now, in my personal opinion, Maguire isn't really a problem, more than he is just not needed in the team, and he's not needed kind of alleviates anything in regards to him playing. Now Lindelof is solid. Lindelof has showcased that he is a solid player, so him starting for me is a good thing. Of course Martinez has to start because Martinez is essentially the captain at the back. That's kind of his position. Dallo and Shaw, of course, being also playmakers, assisting the respective wingers. Now Eriksen and Casemiro in the middle. Casemiro was a little bit off in the last game, I believe. In my opinion, he was a little bit off. He kind of wasn't, well, he was doing his job, but he kind of disappeared in some respects. Not his best performance, but I also believe that is tied to the reality that he has been starting for Man United since he has been allowed to start, essentially. Remember that there was like a brief period of 3 to 2 games where Casemiro wasn't starting, and people were wondering why. It seems like Ten Hag has realized that this guy is actually the real deal and needs to start, especially over McTominay and Fred. Speaking of McTominay and Fred, this game should not go like the last games, and in that respect, I mean that the game, I pray to God Ten Hag doesn't do the thing where in the second half or towards the end he puts on Fred and McTominay. For my opinion, they are pathetic players. Fred always does the Fred special where you don't know what you're getting with him. You don't know what you're getting. Some days he is good and he's on top of it. There was one game specifically where he started instead of Eriksen. I forgot the game. I believe no, I forgot. I think it was against Tottenham Hotspurs, and he actually did pretty well. I'm not too sure if it was that game. If it wasn't, please put it in the comments. And McTominay, that guy gives me a fucking headache. He's an anxiety attack every single time he steps onto the pitch, especially when the enemy takes corners. He is such a risk that he's not worth putting on the team for me strategically. Of course, you want to rest players. For the upcoming game against Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa is not really, in my opinion, a big game. However, the new manager Emery might put up something of a fight, and we don't know exactly how he's going to approach the game. Depending on how he approaches the game is essentially how we should view it, right? De Gea, of course, he has to start. I mean, you saw West Ham. You saw exactly what he did against West Ham. If you saw that game and you saw his performance, him starting, it should be a no-brainer. Of course, he's always going to start. Rashford not starting, I assume, is to rest him. There's no real reason not to start Rashford here. This is a must-win game, so it's kind of very risky, and I like it though, because I like when managers take a risk and they actually go for some kind of difference rather than relying on the same old age tactic. That was one of my biggest frustrations with Ten Hag, that he was doing the exact same thing continuously, and he wasn't really showcasing anything different. Now, Van de Beek and Garnacho are going to be the two main areas of watching here, two main players. Now, the back line is always solid. That's the one greatest thing under Ten Hag. The back line has solidly improved, especially when Martinez is there. Martinez is there he kind of just brings the whole team together at the back, which is amazing. Varane is, of course, the commander, and Martinez is usually like the lieutenant. Kind of weird analogies there, but it makes sense if you've actually watched them. He motivates the players. He has been, in my opinion, one of the singular reasons that Shaw has gained confidence, and so him being back there is an absolutely blessing. Then we, of course, I don't see who would be out of here. I would say that if Lindelof or Martinez get tired or whatever, or if Shaw gets tired, I believe that Malacia will come in. Malacia is solid, not the most amazing player, but he is solid at his job. He shows prospects of being a great player, but we don't know for now. I think he needs more time, but the team is so competitive right now that if one person makes a mistake, you automatically go in, and that's an amazing system because it rewards on merit. Of course, there are some players that, of course, if they play one bad game, they're still going to start the next game, like Eriksen, primarily because of their importance on the team. Eriksen is the kind of player that, in my opinion, is exceptionally fragile, which is why he needs a Casemiro next to him. He sometimes shows lack of form in regards to how he appears in terms of his persona, but he is a solid player in what he does, and that is actually a playmaker. Bruno Fernandes kind of disappears when Cristiano Ronaldo's on the pitch. He always has to service Ronaldo. I don't know if that's because they have a Portuguese bond, or they had a little talk in Portuguese before the game, but Bruno, please, for God's sake, just do for the team rather than doing for the player. That's what I'm saying. Ronaldo, let me just say this. The previous game with Ronaldo Soto, which was the Sheriff game, I believe, was one of the most depressing scenes I've ever seen in my life. That guy's face when he took shots and he missed the shots was, yeah, I wouldn't want to wish that on my worst enemy. And I know I criticize Ronaldo a lot in my personal, primarily because I just don't like his off-field antics, and I also don't think he's a good player right now. And I don't believe a bad player deserves to have that kind of attitude. Now that it is Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm not oblivious to his status. However, his status, I always say, results trump respect, especially when the player themselves is showing lack of respect. Of course, you want the players to improve, you want them to get better, but there's a limitation to it. I hope Ronaldo does well. I pray to God he just pulls out a miracle here, because I want this guy to perform. I want him to be on our starting 11 all the time, and I honestly God think that this team is Ronaldo's best chance of going into the UCL. I think that any other team he goes on to won't be as catering as Man United has been for him. But anyway, that's the game for now. We will look forward to it. I may make a post afterwards, but there's load shedding in South Africa, and that kind of throws a spanner into any works. But hey, I heard the British is going to be joining us on this little escapade of no electricity, so that's something also. So anyway, yeah, I'll see you around. Let's watch the game, enjoy it. Hopefully Man United wins. Enjoy. I mean